All right, all right. Welcome in to another edition of the Green Teamers podcast. I'm James Scaramozzino. He is Jake Seymour. And what a week it was, Jake. Maybe the best week of Celtics basketball so far this season. 5-game win streak for your Boston Celtics. So hold on. We got a little echo here. Let's fix that. There we go. Nothing without a few hiccups early on. That's what we do in the business. But yes, the best week of Celtics basketball so far this season, I would say. Another good win. I would say okay to good win today against the Raptors. Not a great win. But maybe the best week of Celtics basketball so far this season. They rip off wins against the Cavs last Sunday, the Knicks, the Wizards, Lakers, and now the Raptors. And maybe that Lakers game has somewhat of an asterisk on it. But a lot of storylines, I think, this past week in Celtics basketball. Jordan Walsh probably being the primary one. His difference in the starting lineup, they moved to 10-2, I believe, now with Jordan Walsh in the starting lineup. Jake, I'm complimenting the Celtics. I'm oozing green goo, as one Mike Felger would say early on in the podcast. What is your reaction, your initial reaction to this week of Celtics basketball?
I mean, it's hard not to be positive after what you've seen the last few weeks, leading up to this week. It was abysmal to start the season, 0-3. Looked like they got themselves you know, not playoff contention. That's too strong to say early on, but it didn't look good for the Celtics. They were middle of the Eastern Conference, outside the play-in line at sometimes, and frankly, it just didn't look like they could play coherent basketball. Their offense was a mess. Players were struggling. Jaylen Brown was doing his thing and trying to will this team to win basketball games, but it just wasn't working at times. It felt like, and it felt like the gears were grinding up on this team. And now we're starting to see the machine starting to move, and you're seeing the Celtics actually play coherent basketball, and they're moving around offense. They're scoring points. They're blowing teams out. Tonight, Toronto, they're up by 23 points, and they should have put that team away. The fact that Toronto came back and took a lead late in that game shouldn't have happened, quite frankly. I mean, this would have been the third time, I believe. I'm going to double check this before I say this. But yeah, so the Celtics led the entire game up until the fourth quarter when the Raptors went up by 3 points. If the Celtics had the lead maintained the entire way, it would have been the first time this season they had three consecutive games of blowing a team out start to finish and having that lead the whole way. It happened the Lakers game Friday night, happened in DC on Thursday, and that would have been a great mark for the Celtics team. Didn't happen tonight. They got the win. So yeah, sure, it all comes in on the win column the same. It's a good week for the Celtics, winners of 10 of the last 12, 5 straight wins. Not a lot of negatives you can take away from this, besides the fact that yes, they have to put these teams away and they can't blow 23-point leads.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And if you do want to, a couple negatives, like a 23-4 run by Toronto to start the fourth quarter, basically, I would say is a negative. That's not a good thing. That's not ideal. That's not what you're looking for. I thought Brandon Ingram was really good in this game, and I just got through complimenting Jordan Walsh and saying how he's been, probably the bright spot over this past week. Well, a little bit of a learning moment, a learning game for Jordan Walsh, something that's going to happen when he's a young player. He's a player that's improving every game, it seems. The fact that they're, throwing him on, the best offensive player on a lot of these teams is a testament to how good he's been and how much work he's put in. But the fouls are, that's something that just comes with playing in the NBA, whether it's, earning your whistle a little bit in that league is something that some people don't describe to, but I certainly do. And Jordan Walsh is a young player who likes to play a physical brand of basketball, and he gets that, fifth foul, fifth, it fouls out. What was it? I have it in my notes here. Fouls out 2:16 left in the game, and it was 113-104 at that point, so not completely out of hand yet. Luckily, the Celtics are able to pull it away. But if we're trying to say some negatives about this 5-game win streak, that 23-4 run, certainly the third quarter there, the Toronto hit 65% of the shots in the third quarter. Just can't happen. We talked about a little bit before the podcast. I don't want to say it's coaching, but anytime, what do we talk about if it's the NFL? Halftime adjustments, what happens in the locker room, teams comes out at halftime, the coach gets credit. So I do think that's something to keep an eye on. Do you have any theories on the third quarter letdown, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I think the coaching one's a great one to point out. And we've talked about this in the preseason and leading up to, this team, is that Missoula was going to have this was going to be his year to prove himself as a coach. Previous years, it was managing egos, managing talent, and putting players in the right spots, not so much drawing up plays and, making good talent great because he already had great talent. It was just managing that. And those are two different skill sets, I believe. Brad Stevens was a great, X's and O's basketball coach. He understood that. I think, we both agreed. We saw that. But Brad Stevens couldn't get this group, this nucleus of Celtics over the hump. They had to bring in a guy like Ime Udoka who got the best out of that team. Missoula did that. So all these different kind of coaching styles are things that you got to address and look at. And Missoula, I feel like this year is learning and kind of developing his identity as a coach. And in terms of drawing up plays at halftime, drawing up different schemes, making those halftime adjustments. And those are the things that you're starting to see progress. I think it's part of the Celtics and their offense growing. This was the first time in the last week that there was a blowout that they actually let the team back in. So that to me was a good sign of progress. Now, DC, obviously not a good team at all by any metrics, and the Lakers were without LeBron James and Luka Doncic. So, yeah, sure, you can point at the opponent and say, well, yeah, you should let those team in. Toronto, I feel like you could kind of put on par with that Lakers team Friday night. So this is kind of what I touched on, Friday in my articles for 95thesportshub.com, is it's growing pains. And sometimes you wake up in the morning, if you get growing pains, you feel great. There's no issue. And then the next day you get up and you feel a little, tightness or, something's pulling on you a little bit and it's not the best day. So that to me is Missoula and this offense this year. Some days you look at it like, man, this team's great. They're flying at all cylinders. It looks good. And then other times you look at it and you're like, man, they're just like missing something. Like it's not working quite right. So to me, that's what it is. It's just growing pains. They need to obviously address it and fix it. It needs to be better. But right now, I think it's at a spot where it's manageable for where they are. Now it has to, of course, progress farther, especially when a guy like Tatum comes back. And that to me will be the testament to see where all this kind of fits in. But right now, it's in a good spot. It just needs to continue to grow and develop under Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, to give them credit too, because I think this is a game they could have lost earlier in the season. And I know that we're playing the what if game there, but it was their sixth game in 9 days up in Toronto, and nobody wants to hear about the schedule and the workload for professional athletes. Travel is much different than it used to be, but 6 games in 9 days, that's a lot of games in any league that isn't the MLB. Like, you're up in Toronto. I can see a lot of teams, especially in that league, just kind of packing it in the second half there when Toronto starts to claw back, especially a team like the Celtics who's had that flaw, in recent years and isn't, a top tier roster. But, I credit Derek White. I credit Jaylen Brown. Peyton Pritchard hit some big shots. And I know Derek White we're going to get into. Jake has some he's been doing some digging on Derek White and what's been going on with Derek White. And I think it's a fascinating study in not only Derek White, but the Celtics roster in general. So we'll get to that. But just 6 games in 9 days is a lot up in Toronto, and maybe this is too much green teaming, but I think they do deserve credit for hanging around, getting that win, and now they get a ton of time off. I think they have 3 games in the next 12 days or something like that, so we're going to have to work a little harder for some topics next week, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
that's good.
let's restart the tank talks, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's go back to the tank. There was one game this week that if you listen to the podcast, I hope you could hear me saying the bottom of the NBA is horrific, and the Celtics are nowhere near it. So Tank Talk has been dead and will be dead, and that was the Washington Wizards. If you had to watch that display of basketball, losing by 50 to a Jaylen Brown-less Celtics, what a game that was. But just back to tonight, a good win. 10-2 in their last 12. 5-1 on their 6 and 9 game kind of streak there. They play Milwaukee on Thursday, a team that's going to be without Giannis, a chance to rest up and get another win there. They're the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference somehow, which is a wild thing to say at this point. I know we're only, into early December, but still for this Celtics team, I certainly didn't see that coming. So I want to get into Jordan Walsh, unless you have anything else, Jake, on tonight. I know we're going to do the Derek White thing, but just anything about the team's, overall play over the last week.
Yeah, I just think just overall with this team, it's been promising. It's been a lot of developments, a lot of growth, and it's exciting, I think, if you're a Celtics fan to see that because it looked like this team was so far out of it. And that's just my biggest takeaway from the last week of Celtics basketball is you're starting to see life, you're starting to see success, and you're starting to see it against some of the best teams. They beat Detroit, Cleveland, and New York all right in a row. We were sitting here saying that's a gauntlet of teams that, you'd be lucky if you maybe get one win out of that to win all three of those games, and well, one of them was pre-Thanksgiving, and to continue that stretch over the last week, that says a lot about this team, about where they're at, and the development that they've been going on these last few weeks.
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of brought those games up too, because the Cavs game was a really good win. A lot of people say win of the year, 117, 115, a close game, something they kind of struggled to do. The Knicks was final score ended up being pretty close, but it felt like for some reason they just Jaylen Brown called it belt to ass after the game on stream, I believe, if you were tuned in for that
What
one.
a quote!
Yeah, what a quote for a 6-point win. But hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. Sometimes you got to have the chip on your shoulder. And then, yeah, just the Wizards and Lakers, that's kind of an abomination to the sport that we were forced to watch those. Austin Reeves, I guess I give him credit for attempting to keep them
Can
in
I,
that game.
can I give you a point on that real fast on the
Please,
Lakers game?
please.
It's a shame that the NBA decided to put the Celtics Lakers with both teams on the second half of a back to back on Amazon's Prime, streaming service. And that was a shame. What a way to usher in your new broadcast partner. Yeah, we're gonna give you a Lakers Celtics. It's one of the games you bid for on a Friday night, marquee matchup. Yeah, you can have that. You're gonna pay us top dollar. Oh, by the way, they're playing in DC and Toronto the night before. What? Now, everyone wants to throw at LeBron for missing the game because of course, Celtics fans, like I get it. It was, he played in Toronto the night before, so I understood why he missed it. But also, why didn't LeBron just not play in Toronto and play in Boston? Definitely could have happened. Maybe there were some reasons for that. I don't know. But regardless, the NBA should have not had that happen. Where they could have just had the teams play each other on a Friday night with ample time off. It's going to happen in March. The Lakers and Celtics, I believe, both have time off before that game next in March at the Crypto.com arena now, I think.
Whatever the hell they're
Still,
calling it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the formerly known arena as Staples Center. So I don't know. I thought that was really scummy by the NBA, to be truthful. Like you can't do that.
Scummy is definitely a one way to describe it. I would describe it as moronically stupid. One of the dumber things you'll see. Me and McCarthy talked about it a little bit on Friday night, but yeah, I basically shared all the same sentiments you had. It's on the NBA. I don't put any blame on LeBron in that situation.
No, I don't either.
The NBA is fully aware of how old LeBron James is. They're more aware than anybody because they're trying to milk the rest of LeBron James for basically as much primetime TV as they can get out of them, and they put themselves in that situation, which just makes no sense whatsoever. It was very NHL or PGA Tour of them to just shoot themselves in the foot because it seems like those organizations usually lead sports in those departments, but it was the NBA this time, who we usually credit as being one of the more forward-thinking, innovative leagues when it comes to this stuff, but just an all-time blunder from the schedule makers. Like, we all knew that was going to happen. And Jaylen Brown even sat out the Wizards game to play against the Celtics. So that was absolutely on the table for LeBron, but the guy wanted to play in Toronto. Who could blame him? That historic Toronto team,
A
LeBron.
historic building where he's fought so
Yeah.
many postseason battles.
It's so many wins, he's got a lot of good memories in there, certainly more than Raptors fans. So, yeah, that one just a blunder by the NBA, a real whiff there. And Celtics fans rightfully pissed. The people that bought tickets rightfully pissed. Like, it's now this
That's what I feel
tiered.
bad about. So fans who bought the tickets, like fans in general, and like anybody who likes basketball, but the fans who spent money to buy tickets for this, like that's awful. That's terrible.
Yeah, especially with the new like tiered pricing thing they're trying to like force into everybody now. Like, that was a tiered game where that was one of the more expensive games, and that's what you get out of it. And yeah, it's bad for it's bad for the league, it's bad for everybody. And Luka, I don't blame Luka at all. I mean, the guy had a baby. Maybe get Mike Felger to
Yeah, you
tell him
can't
that
blame him.
the off season is when you're supposed to be having kids. But I'll leave that to Mike. That's not really my territory. Uh, but yes, on to Jordan Walsh. More positive things here. Jordan Walsh is he's starting to kind of make a name for himself. Certainly in Boston, he gets the primetime interview the other night, which was cool to see. I saw Jaylen Brown saying it's like watching I'm like a proud dad or something like that. But Jordan Walsh over his last 5 games has 14 points, just about 7 rebounds, and 1.8 steals. And they're all wins, and he does winning things every night. He only scored over 20 once in that 5 games stretch, but he's right around double digits every night. He's getting 7, 8 rebounds, like just a winning player, a guy who. And this is where I do want to give Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla credit, because I think oftentimes with the in-game coaching, and it's a lot easier to attack a coach on decisions they make and stuff like that. But the progression of players in the NBA is kind of, I don't want to call it rare, because it does happen, but it's few and far between, especially when it's the path that Jordan Walsh had, where he was drafted and stashed in Maine with that intent, and like for a good Celtics roster, hoping that maybe someday he would, blossom into a player. And I'm not saying Jordan Walsh has arrived or he's a perennial all-star or anything like that, but he's showing you, at least in this stretch, that he is a viable NBA player, a rotation player, whatever it is. And so I want to, I think, Maine, I saw Chisholm and Brad were up there the other day again. Like, the Maine Celtics are a real thing. The Celtics try, and I give them credit, because all you want as a fan is for your team to use every possible little advantage they can have, whether it's, cheating or, money, whatever it is. Like, every time a Boston sports team has been caught cheating, people throw their arms in the air and are furious. I'm in love. That's all I like. I want them to do anything to win at all costs. Like, that just, if you're not cheating, you don't care as much as the fans do, because every single fan would cheat for his professional team. And I genuinely believe that they would. Some of them would probably do.
Guys, in on cheating.
Yes, in 100% in on cheating. Like, some fans out there would do heinous things to see their teams win a playoff game. So when your team is using its G League affiliate as a major asset in the NBA, I think that's a legitimate like check in the box for your franchise, because I don't think enough teams in the NBA really develop talent. You hear it from fans all the time, the product. It's a tough watch at times. That's because these kids are drafted right out of college. You don't have 4-year seniors anymore. The level of athleticism and skill and all that is through the roof, absolutely. But the actual, basketball, like playing, and it's why Draymond Green's a Hall of Famer, and why, because he knows where to be. He knows the spots to be. He knows how to play defense. So like little things like that, that's a bigger tangent to go on. But Jordan Walsh and the Celtics deserve credit for kind of molding him into a player that's legitimate, showing that he belongs, and he's helping them win basketball games.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually brought up Draymond Green in that, because this is what great teams do. Look at the Warriors when after they, Steph Curry got hurt, Kevin Durant left, Clay was out for a long time. Like, that reloading year they had, I mean, James Wiseman didn't work out for them, but they were able to tool together pieces to get their championship team back to the finals, and they won that. And a large part of their dynasty over the last 10 or 15 years at this point was Draymond Green. I believe he was when he was in the finals. I think he was the first player to start as a second-round draft pick for a finals team. I could be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the stat that they had went back in 2015 when they were in the finals. But Draymond Green, a player like that, hitting on him in the second round was crucial for the Warriors' success, because that's a guy who was going to be cheap as a rookie, and as he developed into a player, and then now recently he's been more expensive. But Jordan Walsh could fall in that same category. Cheap rookie, easy to get contract and control his contract and where he goes and where he doesn't go. And you can put him in the G League now, let him develop. Like, these are what good teams have to do to stay successful, especially under the new CBA. There are no longer teams that can go out and get your Drew Holidays, your Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, like all these players and Derek White for that matter too. Like, all these players that the Celtics and their fans loved over the last 2 years. You can't just go out and buy those players anymore and buy a championship pretty much. You have to develop your players. You have to develop your talent. And Jordan Walsh is a good example of that. So, yeah, I think if you're the Celtics, that's a person and a player you hang your hat on. Like, not only did you scout him and decide he was the right player for your team, you send him to the G League where he develops and now is blossomed into a starter for you. Like all around home run for the Celtics as an organization from top to bottom. And I don't think you can put that any other way right now.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's definitely been maybe the biggest bright spot of the season so far. It's kind of tough to tell. Minot's had a good run at times. It seems like his plays picked up over the last week as well. I don't think that's any coincidence. And something Joe Murray's actually been clamoring for a bit was seeing Minot and Walsh on the floor together, and we saw that quite a bit this week. So I thought that was a good thing too. Joe kind of mixing it up there. But Jake, I think it's time. It's time to get into Derek White. Jake texted me yesterday, just basically he was teasing me. He was leading me on, basically saying, I got something for you. I got a little, a tasty nugget for you, but I'm not going to tell you yet. He was dangling it over. So I'm very interested in this Derek White thing because he gave me a little bit, a preview before the show, and I think there's a lot to chew on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat on this bone, I feel like. So Joe Mazzulla said he was asked about Derek White and his recent offensive surge over the last few weeks, and he was asked about this Friday night after the Lakers game. And the response he gave was pretty much Derek White and the Celtics are now executing their offense, and White is getting more catch and shoot threes throughout the last few weeks. This last season, for example, White made 2.5 of his 6 catch and shoot 3-pointers per game. That was the 4th best mark in the NBA. This season, through the first 3 months, White's down to 1.1 makes on 4.4 catch and shoot threes, which I couldn't figure out where it ranked because it was on like the 3rd or 4th page of the NBA stat sheet and they don't number it on the side. Derek White, obviously last year, was at the top of that. So it was easy to go, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. This year it was much harder because there's a bunch of players and it was hard to figure out exactly where that ranked. But you can see the disparity between it. Like that is a large difference between where he was a year ago versus where he is now. So then I started looking into it more and started asking, like, okay, what happens when Derek White shoots threes? Like, what are some things that lead to those catch and shoot 3 opportunities? And usually, a catch and shoot, you're going to have an assist in there. So, Cleaning the Glass is a website that has a lot of advanced NBA metrics, and I promise this one's not super advanced. It's going to make sense. I don't like stats. This one I actually appreciate it and it made a lot of sense. So, throughout Derek White's career, he's never had a season where a 3-point assisted rate was below 80%. So that means that Derek White, on 80% of his 3-pointers throughout his entire career, 80% have been assisted. So a player is passing the ball and then he has shot that has resulted in an assist for his teammate and a made 3-pointer until this season. That's down to 68% on 3-pointers. Over the Celtics' last 11 games, this was after that Lakers game, that mark increased to 73%. So to me, when you look at it, that's why the Celtics offense, and especially Derek White, is thriving and you're starting to see that growth, is because Derek White is getting more catch and shoot threes. He's getting more opportunities to get the ball from a teammate and immediately shoot a 3 to get that teammate the assist. All those things are happening, and that's what's allowing the Celtics to have a better offense so far, especially with Derek White. And Scal, I texted you this as well. White's 3 tonight against Toronto, they went up 94-87 at the third quarter. Minot passing the ball, set the screen, and then White hit the 3. The next possession, White was dribbling atop of the 3-point line and then pulled up, missed it. So like that to me, like I know that's a super small sample size, but that's the disparity between possessions for the Celtics. One play, Derek White gets the ball and Minot, his teammate, gets the assist and he gets a 3-pointer. The next play, Derek White's just trying to facilitate his own shot and dribble around, and guess what? It's a missed 3. Doesn't result in a basket. So that, to me, has been the best thing the Celtics have seen or done this season. The fact that they're finding ways to get Derek White the basketball off a lot of those catch and shoot threes and increasing his 3-pointer assisted rate.
Yeah, and when I hear that, the first thing I think of is Jason Tatum. Like that is absolutely the first thing I think of is just he dictated everything for the Celtics. We knew that when he was on the floor. It's even more evident now that he's off. But he was their best passer, best rebounder, all that stuff. So there's a massive, massive hole there. But it also kind of I think it's a small indictment on Peyton Pritchard, just because he's not your traditional point guard, and it's one of the few nitpicks we've had with Pritchard this season is just. He's tremendous for his size. He does almost everything right. He can score inside and out, which is very impressive for a guy of his stature. Defensively, he gives you effort. I'll say that. He's not great. I'm not going to laud Peyton Pritchard's defense here for you. I'm not going to do that much. But he's not a great facilitator. And Jaylen Brown has kind of had that same question mark around him too, where he's not a great facilitator. He's been better this season, and like you just said, a lot better over the last week with those Derek White numbers going up. But I think that's just kind of a peek into the glass, like a look behind the curtain, I should say, of just everything Jason Tatum was doing for this team. And it's good to see it trending the other way because that means they're recognizing it. It means Joe is realizing that, hey, the Band-Aid I thought I would use to cover up for Jason Tatum in this instance isn't quite working. We got to try something else. And, maybe Ugo fits into that more. He seems to have kind of a pass first mentality, but an intelligent pass first mentality. Simons, love the guy. He'll score for you. He's never going to pass you the ball. That's just not who he is. It's never been who he is. Sam Hauser is certainly not, one of those guys that's going to be dishing out assists. So it's going to fall on Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard to kind of set up Derek White. And I know Jaylen Brown is, kind of looked at the season as him being the one, being set up because it's his team now. But I think, like you mentioned, if they're going to, continue this role, continue to play well, that's one of the things that they, really need to continue to kind of find its level. And that's Derek White's shooting, because it just hasn't quite been there so far. And that's why I wonder, like, Minot, Walsh, the rotations, like eventually I think it will get shortened up a little bit, but they need some consistency out of Derek White before that happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all this aligns with Walsh's development, White finally starting to find his rhythm. All this aligns with the Celtics dramatically increasing their offensive efficiency throughout the last few weeks. Like, if you look at it, so they were 44.4% on their field goals between opening night and their last loss before this recent 11, or I guess now 12 game stretch. So that was ranking 24th in the NBA. The 3-point percentage was 32.8. That was the third worst in the league. Since then, their field goal percentage skyrocketed to 50.6%. Their 3-point percentage is 41.1%. That's the third best in the NBA, each of those stats. So their success is directly impacting the team. It's directly impacting where this team is ranking for their shooting efficiency, and all of it's connected. So this is what we had talked about the last few weeks, is that they needed Derek White to play better. They needed not Jordan Walsh, but just somebody in general is what we were saying, to step up. That's been Jordan Walsh's last few games. So that's how a team goes from being bottom of the barrel of the Eastern Conference to third place and winners of 10 of the last 12. That's what had to happen. And for the Celtics, surprisingly, I guess, I think that's fair to say. They weren't giving you much reason to believe that could happen. Surprisingly, it's happened for them.
Yeah, it really is quite remarkable, and just kind of, another thing that isn't trending in their direction during this little stretch, but they're still winning games, is the free throw shooting. It's something I've harped on time and time again, that they're dead last in the league in free throw shooting. Over their last 3 games, they're averaging just over 15 free throw attempts a game, which is, they're dead last in the league at a little over 18 and a half a game. So they're below their own, league worst average. So I don't have an explanation for that one. It's almost frustrating me that they continue to win these games while shooting so little free throws, because they need to get to the line more. That's certainly not sustainable. They have to get to the line more. If we're just looking at, little things that they, need to do better. But I think your point on, Derek White and kind of the offense in general is a really, really good one, and an interesting one from a Joe Mazzulla perspective, because he's a guy that, for better or worse, is maybe the leading talking point for the Celtics right now. Like, I think people are more interested in talking about Joe Mazzulla than Jaylen Brown right now, which is kind of a shame because of how good Jaylen Brown's been. But there's something about Joe Mazzulla that just, whether it's the quirky interviews or the 3-point attempts, which are down, which is something we should probably talk about a little too. And I think that's more of a roster thing than a Jaylen Brown thing.
You mean the most important stat in basketball is down?
Yes. But I do want to give, Mazzulla some credit. But yeah, sure. Well, let's get into it, Jake. Joe Mazzulla, let's play a little game here. Joe Mazzulla says that the most important stat in basketball is 3 points attempted, not made, attempted. The Celtics are now taking less of them. They're doing less of the most important thing in all of basketball, but they're winning
Huh.
games. But they're winning
Interesting.
games. Jake, explain yourself.
I mean, maybe they're still third in the league, to be fair, in 3-pointers
Yes,
attempted.
yeah.
It just isn't like astronomically large than what it was. So I mean, they're still up there among the most
It's
3-pointer attempted
Cleveland
teams.
and someone else I think is in
Golden
front of them.
State, Cleveland,
Yeah,
Golden State, and
there you
Portland. I
go.
just pulled it up to make sure. I mean, they're hitting them now too, right? And Missoula talked about that earlier Friday in his press conference. How he felt like that they're getting more shooting luck. That's what he actually said. Not that, which I thought was interesting. He doesn't feel that the team's executing better. He feel like it's luck, which okay. I mean, that's how you feel about it, man. That's how you feel about it. But I thought that's kind of an interesting remark as well. And yeah, so the Celtics are shooting better from 3-point range. They're shooting better from the field, but you're starting to see, I think, more consistent drive attempts. Mid-range attempts. Like Derek White had one in the fourth quarter. I think he missed it, ironically, but like you're starting to see that idea come up and permeate through this team. So it's a good example of the Celtics not just relying on the 3-point attempts and shooting the ball from deep. So yes, are they still shooting a lot of threes? Yes, but at least they're making them. Before it was like, all the way up at the top of the most 3-pointers attempted in the league, and their percentage was almost dead last, if not dead last. So yeah, maybe there is shooting luck involved in that. I mean, I don't know why we can't just say that the Celtics are, shooting the ball better, and that's just how it is. They're executing. I don't know why it has to be luck, but that's how Joe Mazzulla sees it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not going to call it luck. Law of averages, maybe, but no,
That's fair. Yeah, law of averages is fair too, but
yeah,
luck.
and they're still taking, like you said, an inordinate amount of threes. Third in the league. But I look at a game like tonight against the Raptors, where Jaylen Brown went 3 of 4, I think, from beyond the arc, and like I want Jaylen Brown between 4 and at the utmost 6 3-point attempts a game. And even that, like, that feels crazy to say. Like, Jaylen Brown shouldn't be taking 6 3-pointers a game. He just shouldn't, but that's kind of how it's going to be. He should live in that, 4, maybe 5 range. And that's where I'd like to see him. I thought tonight was a really good, efficient game from Jaylen Brown. It's just they're going to do it, Jake. We can't stop them. They're going to keep doing it. Everyone is celebrating now. I heard the afternoon show talking about it on Friday. Like, look, we told you they're still third in the league. Like, they're still shooting 45 threes a night. Like, and guess what? When Jason Tatum comes back, it's probably going to go back up. But I do think Tatum himself will be more of a mid-range, close to the basket player, at least to start. We'll see.
But at least the percentage should also go up. Like Tatum
Yes.
shouldn't break all of his threes or most of his threes, like Derek White and Peyton Pritchard were doing at the start of the year. Like that shouldn't happen with Tatum. I mean, maybe it does just where he gets his feet back under him, but over the course of a long period of time, like Tatum is not a player who's going to miss a lot of threes.
No. And another guy, we shout out Jordan Walsh. We've talked to Missoula. Neemias Queta has had another really good week for him. Just a guy who continues to kind of doesn't blow you away on a nightly basis, but a double-double again today. That's kind of his game, right around 10 points, right around 10 rebounds, and that's what the Celtics need. They're still searching for another viable big, but Queta certainly showed you that he's a serviceable NBA big, and maybe even a little bit more than that. Serviceable can be seen as a slight dig, but I think that's a compliment to Queta, and he certainly put in the work, and now he gets to go against the Bucks without Giannis, which is kind of nice for him for a change, instead of just getting run over 10 to 15 times a game. Jake, do you have any other thoughts on this past week of Celtics basketball?
I guess we'll just throw it out. I mean, I think that was kind of funny, I guess. Chris Boucher got a welcome back video at the start of this. Did you see that on the broadcast? They did a Chris Boucher welcome back video, which has been the case for Luka Garza, Minot in Minnesota when they were both there. So Boucher had that pregame. He was a DNP. Coach is such a DNP. But didn't even let him get him there on 23 just to be like, yeah, you got your welcome back video. That was enough.
Does Chris Boucher finish? Does he finish the year on the roster?
I feel like he does, just because like I guess if he's traded, that'd be the only way that he's not like it's not like the NFL where you just cut away players
Yeah,
like that. So yeah, I mean if they were able to trade him, but like also which team is picking up Chris Boucher? Like he's not like his contract isn't that large to be used as like a a match in another deal anywhere. So like
he's
part of me
just
says, yeah, he does and the roster on the team just because like where else is he gonna go?
yeah. He's become like kind of a I don't want to say an issue because he's done nothing wrong other than stink at basketball, but it's like they just have a dead spot on the roster basically. Like you're just wasting a roster spot for a guy who can't even get a minute in his return video arena. Like that's tough to see. We have
Really
to
sad.
and we talk about I'm in on cheating earlier. Out on tribute videos, very much so. Jim Montgomery, you didn't need.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monty. We did not need. Luca Garza, your time in Minnesota was not very memorable. I think for just about anybody. You say Minot got one as well for his whopping 8 games played there or whatever. Like, can we be done with the tribute videos, Jake? I mean, Jim Montgomery, yeah, congrats. You won a bunch of games, and then you basically ran to St. Louis or waiting by the phone for St. Louis to call you. So yeah, I'm out. I'm out on tribute videos. Paul Pierce, you want to do a tribute video? Fine. Jim Montgomery, no thanks.
What about Marcus Smart? Were you upset that he didn't play Friday night? Were you looking forward to seeing Smart back in the Garden?
I mean, he's been back before, right? He's had to have been, or was that his first time
So I
back?
think no, he's been back last year, but I don't remember if he has a few years ago too. But I don't think did he play in either of those games?
I don't know. I feel like he has always like had something come up right beforehand. Like it
He's
is.
missed a lot of games since he's left Boston,
Yeah, that's
like a
true. And
crazy amount.
I did see the always trustworthy, never wrong lip readers on Twitter were saying that Jaylen Brown was telling him, "We always have a spot for you." He's trying to recruit him back to
Oh boy!
Boston. I trade him for Chris
All
Boucher.
right, that
Give
three
me,
point assist rate. Sorry, that 3 point attempted is going through the roof now.
yep. Sorry, Derek White. You had a good run. You were
Yeah,
just trying.
the
You were
percentage is going to drop.
you were just starting to find your stroke again. Yeah, poor Marcus Smart. Things have not been great for old Marcus there. I'm trying to see if I got anything else in my notes that we did not get to. Let's see. I don't know if you got anything, Jake. Let me just take a
I guess
look
just
here.
to circle back to the big man point too, like as much as we poke fun at Chris Boucher, like Xavier Tillman and Luka Garza both were DMPs tonight.
Yeah,
So, you know, Kata is really the only big man playing. If you want to throw Baylor Shireman in that, like, yeah, you can, but
yeah.
you know,
6 minutes, like yeah.
maybe two big men, really, really one and a half big men, you are on the roster playing consistently. Like that can't be the option long term. You got to find something to fill the hole there. I know I just see some rumors, like nothing like blue check mark or anything like that, but I think it's more so just like Bleacher Report hype articles. So we'll see how much of that actually comes to fruition if the Celtics make a move for somebody. Honestly, like this is the tough thing though in this league. Is like who do you get? Like there isn't really an option out there that's currently on the market that you could point to. Like you could do that for guards and forwards and
It seems like
spot
Zubac.
shooters.
It's
Zubac in the Clippers, yeah, that was a
That
good
seems like the
good
only
pull.
one that's even like brought up right now is Zubac, and I do it in a heartbeat. But it's Simons and 2 first-round picks, and you beg them to do that. I don't know. Like the money works, but do they want Simons? Probably not. What the hell does he do for the
Yeah,
Clippers? So
Simons, 21 minutes tonight, 12 points, 2 of 8 from 3-point range.
yeah, how is
Like,
that worth anything? And his he's making almost 30 million. So I don't know. Zubac would be definitely high on the priority list. He's a tremendous player, only 28 years old. He's just been in the league forever. He's been a pro for a long time, even before the NBA. So yeah, he's definitely a guy I'd be interested in. But like you said, there's not really a market for them to go after right now.
yeah, I mean, I think the other thing with the Clippers about why that could come to fruition would just be if the Clippers decide just to blow everything up and sell pretty much because right now they're in a spot where they're pointing down the trajectory of the franchise is so low, which is unfortunate considering all the money that Steve Ballmer poured into this franchise, in the salary cap and circumventing it as well, allegedly, of course. So,
Allegedly, yes, of
and of
course.
course, like the new stadium, like that stadium, I've never been, but you see the videos online and you see the wall, like all that stuff seems very, very, very cool. So it's unfortunate the Clippers are falling into this trap of, I guess, abysmal NBA play, which is probably the best way to describe it. Especially with the whole Chris Paul thing. Like, you can't get rid of Chris Paul like that. What are you
I'm I'm
doing?
I'm very glad you just brought that up because what the hell was that? What the like Chris
That was a
Paul,
debacle. That was.
like Hall of Famer, one of my least favorite athletes of all time, but that's not important in this story. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend in that league, and he's a legend to that franchise. For a franchise
Absolutely.
that has nothing, for a franchise, one of the all-time worst franchises in all of sports, like never won anything, choked more leads with Doc Rivers, Chris Paul, and Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. That whole cast, they choked 3-2 leads. What felt like every year, and you have maybe the one guy who's recognized as like a Clipper legend, maybe him and Blake Griffin, or Elton Brand. Like I don't even know. But and you send him home. You say, hey man, we're good. You wanted to do the retirement tour. You wanted to, go around, have your ass kissed by every team in the league. How about the team you played for almost your entire career? We just send you home.
Yeah, it was just sad because he didn't deserve that. And I think it's a great example too. He was in San Antonio last year, and you see the strides San Antonio has made as a team this year, and you see how far the Clippers have fallen. Like, San Antonio embraced Chris Paul last year. That team was all for it. They loved him. From all accounts from the outside looking in, it seemed Chris Paul and the Spurs really gelled together with, especially with some of those younger guys as well. And the Clippers just kicked him out the door and said, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." That's sad. Like, Chris Paul didn't deserve that. I don't care what anyone says, regardless if you want to get on for blowing all the leads and not winning and being one of the worst. If you want to call, like, some people call him the worst potential Hall of Famer. Like, I don't
No,
believe that,
no.
but I know people like Twitter trolls will always throw that out there. Chris Paul is one of the best point guards of all time in this league. He deserved his retirement tour. He deserved his flowers, even if it wasn't at this grand stature like the Kobe retirement tour. He deserves something,
How
and the
about
fact that the Clippers just kicked him out is a damn shame.
Yeah, how about just like the NBA Players Union, like the Players Association, like he signed a contract,
Yeah,
it's very odd, especially for a guy of that stature. So I wonder. I'm sure we'll get more fallout on it, more information on it, because it's not a very normal occurrence. I'm sure the Players Association will have to I don't want to say intervene, but certainly look into it. I don't know how. If Chris Paul wants to fight back or put up any stink, I'm sure that ball's kind of in his court at this point. No pun intended there. But yeah,
as long as you're getting paid, I mean, I don't know what else the players union can do it
yeah,
too at the same time.
it's not like I'd want to play for the Clippers right now if I was Chris Paul. Like if they're gonna pay him and send him home, go be a broadcaster, you know. But
Yeah,
I think the Players Association certainly has a gripe there if they want to be like, hey man, what are we doing? What are we
definitely.
doing here? But
Yeah.
yeah, another week of Celtics basketball on deck. They have, I mean, like we just said, 3 games in 12 days. So we're going to be stretching it, Jake. We're going to be working hard. We're going to be coming up with topics. No more tank talk. All-Star game talk. Like, who knows? Who knows where we're going to go, Jake? Do you have any closing thoughts for this week's Green Teamers?
I guess just my closing thought on this portion of the season in this episode is, why do we have to cram the NBA Cup in the first month of the year? Like, why can't the league say, like, soccer does this great? Like, I think it's or at least there's an American. I'm not a soccer guy, but I know there's like a American Cup.
The
You're a
Gold
soccer
Cup.
guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, okay, right. And
CONCACAF.
like the USL and the MLS teams, they all compete for
Yes.
this, right? And they all work up to it. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I believe it's like a game a week for a large portion, like a good amount of the season.
So
Is like,
yeah, they rotate them. Like yeah, pretty
well,
much.
on average, it's about a game a week for a few months that this progresses. Why can't the NBA Cup do that? Where it's a game a week over the course of 2 months? Like, you're putting the NBA Cup right now in December, which is where it's going to be played, and this is like the highest point of this tournament, in the middle of NFL playoffs. College football just had its final playoff rankings today with the Bulls coming up. It makes no sense on the TV calendar to put the NBA Cup where it is. If you just waited 2 months and had this as like, expanded it out and maybe made the groups bigger. Like, I don't know how you do it logistically. There's obviously a way to do it. You got to just think about it. But
Just
spread out the cup games. Don't put them all right in November and jam in all these games, and then have a team have 3 games in 12 days. That is absurd scheduling. I don't know why this got passed. I think the NBA Cup's cool. It's something new to talk about. I'm all for it. But schedule the games out a little bit more. We don't need them all right clumped around each other. Like the Celtics played the Magic like 4 times this season already. It feels like 2
Yeah.
of them were already in Orlando. They played Philadelphia 3 times at the start of the year, and now they're gonna have no games, or basically 3 games in 12 days. Like there's almost no games in the NBA in the
Yeah.
scheme of things.
I think it's a phenomenal point. It's a great point. And I think they just need to push it back a little. Like, if they really want to get into like the TV game, you put it right after the Super Bowl. Like you
Sure.
schedule it then
Yeah.
before March Madness, like that break before spring training and March Madness, like right after the Super Bowl. That's when the NBA Cup could be. You throw it in there, and Winter Olympics this year, different story. But like we're talking NBA regularly, like that's a decent spot for it. Just don't start it right away. Like just start it, 2 months into the season or a month and a half into the season. Just say, okay, well, the NBA Cup starts December 1st, or it starts, the Black Friday, or whenever you want to decide when it starts. But I'm 100% with you. It's very oddly timed. There's no real rhyme or reason for it. Like you said, Celtics fans, you get 3 games in 12 days like that. That's unfortunate around the holidays. Like you're looking for something to do. Uh, I'm with you. I think the NBA Cup is a good thing, but it needs improvement.
I don't know how the teams agreed to that either, because how many times, like, if you go to the Garden for a game, you're going to see all the marketing for the holiday packages. So Celtics played in December so far. They played home against New York, home against the Lakers. They're playing home against Detroit, Miami, the Pacers, and then they're on the road from December 26th until January 3rd. They're back home on the 5th. So those are 5 pre-Christmas games, and then they're not back on the road until after the New Year. Or sorry, back at home until after the New Year. Like for all your ticket packages that you want to do with the holidays, or buying Christmas presents as tickets, wouldn't you want at least more home games up leading up to that
You couldn't
or
have
after that?
you couldn't have put one of those days off in between Celtics Lakers. You couldn't have done
Yeah,
that.
great point, Scats. Great point. I
Yeah,
don't get it. I
yeah.
don't. I like the NBA Cup. People want to say it's not good. It's not. They don't want it. Fine, whatever. But I would say space it out. You don't need every game in November,
I'm
especially during NFL and college football season.
Preach, Jake. Preach. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I would say a very good week of Celtics basketball. A great week of Celtics basketball, even undefeated. They should beat the Bucks on Thursday night, going for 6 in a row. Jake, I just gave you your closing thoughts. Maybe the best rant you've gone on all podcast right there. I co-sign that one 110%. Anything else
Thanks,
before
guys.
we sign off?
No, just looking forward, I guess, to these next 3 games for the Celtics, seeing how, now they have time off, how do they handle that? How do they develop this offensive identity? I don't know if Giannis is going to play Tuesday or Thursday. I don't know if anyone does
I
right
don't
now.
believe so, but yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably out. So that winning streak should go up to 6. Then you're facing Detroit again at home. Like that'll be a good game. Circle out on the calendar. Miami's coming to town. Although it's a small stretch of basketball, it should be exciting to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Jake. Another great week of Celtics basketball. We'll do it all again next week. Hopefully, the Celtics can continue winning. We'll have a lot to talk about. So, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Green Teamers podcast.